So I'm really happy to be here with all of you, to have been invited. And as Todd said, I have quite some different types of experience, but I will, for the subject we'll share now, I will take base on Mandov, this place you visited. So it's just here, you know, it's a 4,000 square meter buildings, and my experience is about reusing all those empty buildings from industrial era and try to use it as much as possible as they are. Just try, you know, do some work by ourselves and make it functioning as rapidly as possible, and little by little you improve. So at the moment it's like 50 groups working, it's open every day, and it's civil society, so NGOs, and little by little more and more held by public funds, but we try at least for 50% raise our own money. And so this issue of being open to society is for me from the very beginning very important. And what I decided with Mandov is not only a place for residencies for artists, whatever discipline it is, but as well a place for residency for people who have fantastic idea for society, can be local or whatever. Because I thought, let's say, people can be very creative in society, and maybe somebody is like emerging artist, not known, and have a great idea about society and where he can go, you know. And I thought we have buildings, we have spaces, we have offices, we know how to communicate, so it can create an atmosphere to help all these social projects as an artistic residency to happen. Because I thought as well the fact there is artists, it creates a very nice creative atmosphere. So to give you an example, we had projects, very different types of projects. First one came, a guy said, I would like to create a house for Algeria. That means, you know, we have still, there was a very difficult war between France and Algeria, and he wanted to create projects to help reconciliations. And so it was very nice because we had, you know, these old people during the war from France and Algeria, going together, having the possibility to talk together. And so that's one. Another one was a woman. She said, I want to work for transsexual in prison because nobody cares about them. So I said, okay. Another one says, oh, I would love to find a way to create possibilities for holidays for disprivileged young people. You have to know that where we are in Saint-Ouen is quite, so it's very mixed socially, but there is quite a lot of people from immigration. So our dream as well was to maybe with artistic project, because it's really for emerging artistic projects, which sometimes, you know, needs even sometimes to formulate what they really want, but very rapidly everybody is a place with no walls, you know, it's very rapidly it becomes is a territory around, which is the place where the artists are working. So as told, does it work? Yes. So as told, say we are a member of Trans-European Network, and so a member of this resource platform for artistic and social creative project Arts Factories. And this I pass on. So this was what I say. So we call us a factory dedicated to artistic and social imaginations, and this is this word empowering social creativity, which is very important for us. And once I found this quotation from Joseph Beuys, you know, the famous German artist. He says that he sees humanity, society, like a social sculpture. Naomi, you just use this word. And I say, oh, it's really great. So we decided to make the sculptures, the social sculpture of our community. And in fact, it's because I start to write this idea of sculpture social on the walls, you know, and it attracts two artists who suggest me to create the sculpture social of the community. That means we have nearly a lot of portraits of the many people living around. And it's very nice because it's just not, they don't just speak like that, you know, they take the time, they say what's important for you, and they, after sometimes they co-write something. It lasts like 1 minute, and they choose a music in background. And you see, when you see all these people little by little, you know, you listen, all of them, And after that, you go in the suburb, you enter the metro, and you say, oh, it's the same people. And it's so beautiful. You realize that everybody has a kind of treasure, and that this, artistic dimension helps to show it. And then you go in the city and you say, oh, all these people, I'm sure they have something fabulous to say. It's really great. And so this is a parallel, to say it's like a collage. It's not linear, what I tell you, but it's to say all the way we are going around. And I guess this is the Malian woman you are talking about. In fact, this was not planned. It's one night, there was people living in the... They were living in front of the town hall of our little city, because it's nearly Paris, but it's a separate city. Because they had no papers, and they were kicked out of the place where they were living because it was going to be destroyed. And so they were living in front of the city hall, and one night it was so cold. It was 3 families, and including 7 babies, very small children, and so they arrived in our places. So at the very beginning, it was a bit difficult. And first time, the mayor called me on my mobile during the night, and she said, Fazet, don't do that. Don't accept this. It will take you down. It's too complicated. Plus, there was all the activist people around saying, you should close your building. It's much more important to have people, to be there and organize beds for everybody than for artists. So I had, to defend my convictions that artists as well to open imagination for social better life. And so it lasted 20 months. We have these 3 families, so it was a bit, we had to move, some place to place. And you see Seta, she was born in our concert hall one night. And for me, it was clear. I approached this like, in a way, a residency. I didn't try to become what I was not. So I just tried to create a situation which is, we had this building, and little by little, many families in the city became solidaire, and we were caring about the children, and we create a kind of mobilization in the city. And at the beginning, so the mayor was very angry, and but little by little, it was just say, oh, very smiley. No, I think it's okay. We will succeed, and go to see the representative of the state, le préfet, I think and because he was obliged to see me because I was more a cultural actor, quite known, and sometimes we get some little subsidy from the States. And so it was really for me like an artistic project, and it was so real, And I didn't try to be a politician or whatever. And little by little, the activists, they become, some of them, like friendly. And there was a really mobilization to help them in many things, because sometimes it was not so comfortable. Even the police in this, because normally we were not allowed to have people live in our place, it's just for work. And at one point, there was a head of the police once who met me and said, everything is okay with the family. If you need something, you just tell me. It was really fantastic, because it's more a creative, it's not just a political front or thing. It was just to say, it's just humanity. And for me, I don't make any difference. Arts, humanity, no difference. It's about this, It's just so it was so natural. Sometimes complicated when you had the creation with dance and with silence and with the the kids. But so I was really. We did it, and now they are all lodged, because at one point I said to the mayor, you come with me to the state, and you say to the state, if you give papers, you give the lodgements, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of mobilization of the education as well person. So it happens like that. And it was a very strong experience, sometimes difficult to share with the team, and all the artists working there, nearly, it's not an obligation, it's just to say, whatever, no obligation. If you feel, it's okay. If you don't feel, it's like that. But during sometimes we were all mobilized, to stay during the night with them, to make sure nothing bad happens to them. And it's how they became a little bit part of the family. And one special residency we've done that I want to say as another example is that we have decided to question the question of richness, of how money is created, What means indicators of richness? What about public finances? What about accountability system? So we call this process, which still existing, that we launched in 2003, Produit Intérieur Doux, that you may know because this came from a Quebec collective I found on the web. It's collective for Quebec without poverty. And one guy say, oh, this Produit Intérieur Brut is too brutal. In English, it's the GDP, you know? In French, the word is Produit Intérieur Brut. Brut is rough, rush. And he says we should invent the Produit Intérieur Doux. I translated by smart domestic product. And then it was a launch of an adventure when we start to launch this. And little by little, we get people from bank coming, people working on indicators and saying, you're right to do that because it's totally a narrow imagination. We are not living an economical crisis. We live a crisis of imaginations, of dream, or re-questioning what we create. And so it's fantastic because now there is a theater company. We have created a piece of theater with a report which explains many things like that. And now they go in many other countries, but instead of playing their play, they discuss with artists in other countries. So to eventually ask if some artists would do the same. So now there is 5, 6 countries, and we are preparing for the next World Social Forum in Senegal, a possibility for all the companies to go there, because it's incredible when you start to understand, because, you know, all policies today are based on this indicator, the GDP. And finally, when you start to think, to research, you see that it has never been voted that this should be the way to evaluate. It's just a few people that one day decided it's like that we have to evaluate. And we just let things do. So it's our responsibility now to re-understand what means richness for us. What should be the indication of what is value for, what is important for us? You know, in France, you say what counts for us. It counts, the same name, the same word. And so for us, we are engaged in this process. You know, now everywhere there is economists who try to say, we need to change, it's terrible. And there is this big work which is named the new indicator for well-being and social progress. And it's terrible because there is never nobody from arts or from culture there. Why? It's something we see. I think sometimes the economists, they go much farther than we do, you know. Like, you know, Mohamed Yunus Lino was talking about him yesterday. He said, you see, there will be plenty of people, they will die without knowing they had so much creativity. It's not only a loss for each of them, but it's a loss for the whole society. So for us, we think that because it's so important, because everything is based. If this changes, many things can change. So we are really activists, this is the name, to share that this is really possible, that it changed the way economic is functioning now. It's not possible. It's not something which has been created, you know, like that. It has been created by us, the humans. This is an obligation that is, it's sure that we can change it, and we should be sure about it. And so I think this is really exciting because there is a lot of people now in the world from economic side which would need, you know, our inputs to say that they are right to think about that. So this is this company. And in parallel, and to end about all this discussion we have, I think what is very important is what we have inside. I think the word, how it is manifested, even in the matter, is because of our thoughts, our dreams, the way we represent ourselves, the world. And it's all this inner, you know, architecture that becomes visible. You know, Winston Churchill was saying, we shape our buildings, then they shape us. We shape our institutions, then they shape us. So I think it's very important that we have back the conscience of so much important what we think, what we believe, the way we represent the world, because it's too much fragmented, it's too much separated inside. And this comes, you know, the old traditional physics, because traditional physics had the idea that we have to separate everything and detail in all this separation, and maybe after having separate, we just have to take everything back, which doesn't work. We know now it's quantum physics, you know? That means we are all connected. It's impossible we are separated from each other. What I do affects everything. And once we went in a very difficult place, which is open during the night for people who are really doesn't know where to go. And so she shared the reading, and she asked everybody to read a passage where the people say, read, I am Ulysse, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So she goes to people, and once she was with one guy he was really damaged, I guess, by alcohol, you know, and very poor, and Geraldine comes as a director, and she says, can you read? And we say, oh, Geraldine, maybe this time you're a bit, And so he starts to blah, 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 and, okay, and Geraldine look at him like a director, and I say, no, 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 no. You are Ulysse. You will see the queen, ta-ta-ta-ta. You have to convince, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And it was like a miracle. This guy, he just stand up, you know, it was so moving, and he became Ulysse. Why? Because she looked at him, just, you are Ulysse, and he became Ulysse. So sometimes you feel it seems nothing, it seems invisible, but so important. And this company, they worked with women who have been fired from their factories, and he decided to make a play with what they did in their factories. And at the beginning, you know, the women who have been fired, they had only the idea to go back to the factories, you know what I mean? And the people from activists around the same. But it was very fantastic, because after 3 months, 4 months, they have been on stage, it was finished. They knew they could do something else. Just to say all this, that it's so important, you know, there is an interaction between being in some societal project, but our art is a dynamic which can combine, you know, our heart, our mind, our body, so that we change. We need to change. And for me, it's really the thing that we have to change. The scenario of life, the scenario of poverty, the scenario of inequality. We don't like that. And it's for sure with reopening our imagination, it will be possible. It's an obligation. And it will be possible, small here, small here, small here. And once there will be a, you know, critical mass, and it will change everywhere. And art, for me, is the energy we give this hope, you know. Everything in the world is like ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, it's literacy, and art is, wow, reopening possibilities. And it's why it's so important, and thank you.